Name is the deep.
Because of the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night.
Officials and newsmen at first discounted those eyewitness descriptions as being beyond belief. However, the reports persisted.
Listen to them. Children of the night. What music they make.
What is up, everybody? I am Cheap.
I'm Easy.
And tonight on Boogeyman Radio, we are bringing you part 2 of the Lizzie Borden murders, the trial edition, basically.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to hear the actual testimony of Lizzie Borden herself.
Yeah, we've got the testimony. We've got a list of other suspects that some of the witnesses had brought to the trial, as well as I found this article from the Smithsonian about why she was found not guilty. And it's a pretty interesting read. It's a long one. We'll kind of pick and choose points out of it that to read to you guys, to bring to you guys. But a lot of it's really fascinating. And then whatever's left after tonight's show will definitely be on Patreon, doing the After Dark show with more information and probably some other general conversation as well.
Oh, absolutely.
If you guys want to catch,
I mean, her literal, like, her testimony during the trial, through the entire trial is really long. So I'll probably save at least half of it for the After Dark as well.
yes.
So
if you guys want to catch the After Dark show, that link right down there, that it's not really a link, but it's the site, patreon.com/Boogeyman Radio. Sign up now. It is only $2.49. It's half a gallon of gas.
it's cheap.
If not
It's
more,
cheap.
actually it's more than less than a half
It's more than a half. Yeah.
gallon. You guys can do this.
Less than a half. Yeah. That's insane. Like 2 years ago, I'd been like, "Oh, that's gas prices worthy, right? That's gas. That's a gallon of that's a gallon of gas." Nope, not anymore. Not in this economy.
Hell no. So if you guys want to catch the After Dark show, right down there is the perfect place to do so. What is up, Lori? Hope you're doing good. Hope you join us on the After Dark tonight.
Yes.
We're going to be continuing this conversation. Also, on our Patreon page, 2 days ago, I put up a poll. So for everybody that's a Patreon, you get to vote on next week's episode. Basically, you have a choice between conspiracy or paranormal, game night, or an interview. And right now, we've got conspiracy in the lead.
Also, I kind of want to throw something out there, and I was just thinking about this past week, and I haven't talked to you about it.
Uh-oh.
The 5th, I think it's the 5th of July is Tuesday. So right after the 4th of July. So if you guys have any ideas of, like, old-time ghost stories or, like, that involve America, and not just, like, haunted locations and, like, ghost stories, but I mean, like ye olden days ghost stories, or something that could be centered around, basically, I guess, like the colonies or something, go for it. That would be awesome. I think that'd be really cool to do.
Do you want to do a ghost story episode?
I think that'd be cool for our Independence. Yeah, for like the Independence Day. Well, it won't be Independence, but in celebration of our Independence Day. I think that'd be pretty sweet.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, Kelly.
I mean, it's something like that. I mean, we don't have to do ghost stories, but just like,
I think that'd be kind of cool.
you know, it'd be different. I thought about it. I was like, man, let's do something focusing on the history of the or we don't even have to do ghosts. We could just talk about the history of the U.S. or whatever. I don't care. Just something cool. Roanoke would be cool. Yeah.
Lori, you're going to have to bake twice as many now because you told me you bake peanut butter cookies. And I am a whore for peanut butter.
That's facts. I could, yeah.
I am. But yeah, Roanoke would be cool. That might be a good show, the disappearance of the Roanoke colony.
Shoot, you could even talk about, like, places in America that were wiped out by cholera back in the frickin' early 1900s.
Or conspiracy surrounding the founding of America.
There you go.
Like one kind of cool thing that I found out not too long ago was our Declaration of Independence was actually based off of Native American politics.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
That's why if you look at the top of the nation's Capitol building,
Mm-hmm.
there's a Native American on top of that. That person that it's molded after helped develop the laws set forth by our founding fathers.
I mean, it makes sense because where they got the ideas that were completely different than what they only knew, which was back over in England. That makes a lot of sense to go after, well, not go after, but model it after some sort of Native American culture.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like one singular tribe. I mean, one singular tribe kind of pushed it, but like it was a collection of different tribes and everything, and our government just kind of
freedom to pretty much do whatever, defend yourself, respect the lands. Like,
yeah,
sounds, yeah.
It's actually pretty awesome, and it's a little tidbit of history that we're not told about. Oh. We're just told, our founding fathers came up with these rules, and that was that. Freaking Native Americans, brother.
Oh, yeah. Well, fun fact, too, I didn't know about this, but apparently back in the day in Virginia, if you were 16 to 44 years old, you were considered all men of a militia. All men. All the men in Virginia were considered to be in the militia or a militia, which covered individual rights.
Yeah.
God-given rights to defend yourself. Anyways, yeah, that would be really cool to do a history episode sometime. I think that'd be neat.
We'll have to discuss about the conspiracy episode for next week.
Yes.
But the poll's not over. Poll's not over. We're gonna give it till the end of the day tomorrow.
Well, the 5th is like 2 weeks away, so that's
no. I mean, the poll's for next week.
Yeah.
But like I said, conspiracy's winning right now. For anybody that's Patreon, go vote what you want to see.
We haven't done a conspiracy in a while.
Yeah. If there's a tie, we'll do a tiebreaker. We'll do a coin flip.
I feel like most of the stuff that we've talked about here pretty recently has been pretty true.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a true crime. 2 weeks of true crime right now.
Still though, that's true.
Yeah, I know. What was the show we did before?
The Werewolf Trials.
Werewolf Trials, yeah. Again, true crime basically.
Yeah. Conspiracy in quite some time.
Yeah, or actual paranormal kind of thing.
Haunting focused stuff. We did the paranormal news.
Yeah. Another thing we could do, and you guys can chime in too, let us know what you think. And we could do this for a way future episode. Maybe something for October is we'll put it out there early to any paranormal team that has what they consider one of the greatest pieces of evidence they've ever captured. Cool. Let them submit that, and we'll go through them on the show.
That'd be sweet.
That'd be really awesome.
Really cool. Yeah, that would be.
They could type up a summary of what happened and stuff.
Yeah.
And
speaking of paranormal evidence, the video that I had from McIntyre Villa is live on our Patreon, right?
The Alice Cooper thing was on. It's on our YouTube channel.
Right. Which is
your experience is, I think, only on Patreon right now.
Yes.
We'll get that eventually. That'll make its way to the channel, but
yeah. Which I think we have a bigger video coming with more stuff, right?
Yeah. There's gonna be. In fact, I might play the Alice Cooper thing on here tonight.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Just give them a little taste.
While I'm getting that ready, how was your weekend?
Man, hot. My week has been just miserably hot. It's been so hot, in fact, that my body's finally starting to become acclimated to the heat.
It's coming to terms.
Oh, dude, it's finally. And just the other day, I was asleep and I woke up and I was freezing. It felt like I was in 68-degree temperature. I was cold when I woke up. Went upstairs to check my thermostat. Read 74.
Hope you're not getting sick.
How is that set to 74? Well, no, I feel fine. I feel just fine. But it was just really weird that it was that's how it's been though. It's been really cold, down in the basement. The cold air holds very well compared to upstairs, where it is actually hot upstairs. We don't really have any tree cover. The windows pretty much leak a little bit, so we know that we're losing air. But either way, it was just cold down here, and I was just like, oh god. My body's getting used to it, but the humidity is just horrible. You step outside,
buddy.
can't breathe.
Well, buckle up.
You're just breathing in moisture. Yeah, I mean, the next week, like, it's gonna be hot as heck again. I saw like 2 or 3 days that were triple digits, so here's that. Great times, not fun.
No, not at all.
No, but other than that, man, it's been a solid, good week. Yeah, can't complain. How about you?
2 nights ago, I think it was, I did a live stream on my Facebook page. Had a few guests on,
Nice.
and just kind of promoting some of their stuff, what they're doing, and everything like that. Because, I mean, Facebook, you can't really promote anything, you can't advertise anything. So
Without pay.
the best course of action would be to go live.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, half the people stick around for half of it. But
Exactly.
but I mean, I kind of felt that was a good way to try to get some advertising out there for other people, and so I got to talking to a couple of them, and maybe here soon we might have 1 or 2 of them as a guest on the show.
That'd be awesome.
Future interviews. So
Yeah.
we've got some things that we could do, which is why we have that poll up on Patreon. Yeah. We were talking about the Alice Cooper thing. You guys, if you haven't seen it yet, it is on our channel. You can go check that out or later, or you can just watch it now. I'm gonna go ahead and put that up if you guys want to check this out. This was okay. This is close towards the end of the night. We were initially running the spirit box session, doing a spirit box session. Nothing was happening there. It was a bunch of radio stations coming through, and Charles decided, hey, I'm going to put it on the Echo Vox. So we put it on Echo Vox, and what came through was actually pretty funny and kind of impressive at points.
Yes.
But this is just a portion of that session that I thought was cool and we should put out. So this is the whole Alice Cooper experience. Check this out. Alice Cooper. Did you hear it?
I did hear it.
You know who Alice Cooper is, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, he's good.
What do you like about Alice Cooper?
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody's ever played Alice Cooper in here.
Well,
You want to?
it's the first time for everything.
Do you want us to play you some Alice Cooper? We'd love it.
What?
What?
Well, looks like we gotta play some Alice Cooper.
Here you go.
Here's the song.
I know you're hungry. And here comes dinner.
Alright, so we played Alice Cooper. What now? Did they just say thank you?
You're welcome.
I totally heard the thank you. I totally heard.
Yeah, to me it sounds like it goes, thank you guys.
Oh, okay, see that? I didn't pay that close
I'll
attention.
play that back real quick.
Alright.
Yeah.
Ah.
Did they just say thank you?
Yep.
Alright, so we played Alice Cooper. What now? Did they just say thank you?
Yeah, thank you guys. Wow. Nice. That was a good catch.
Well, and you know that little FU part, I never heard it there at the time, but
I
like
didn't either.
whenever I was going through that, I was like,
Did I just say fuck?
F you. I mean, that doesn't come through the Echo Vox. That's not supposed to, right?
No, it's not. That's why
It's all
you
phonetic.
hear something exactly. It's all phonetic. So anytime you do hear words, it's like, wait a second, what? Did that
And
actually
the
put
weed-
something together?
We'd love it. That was just
That was solid
Pretty-
for me.
pretty awesome. So, but yeah, McIntyre Villa video. I'm still working on it. We'll get it out to you guys soon. A full video. Might be a 2-parter. just for length. Want to keep the length down a little bit.
Yeah.
But Charles also had an experience at the end of the night or early morning. And you guys, if you're a Patreon, you can go check that out. Just go to the posts and scroll down. You'll find it in our posts.
To me, that was probably one of the coolest. Like, I've had plenty of experiences with different locations and stuff, but nothing with an object like that. Like
Right.
So obviously those little cat balls, they're not paranormal designed objects, right? To use in the paranormal field. So the fact that this little ball lights up, like that was really cool to me, and it was awesome. Yes, exactly what Cassie says. This should be a slogan. Just link doesn't matter, and then like ... on paranormal evidence or EVPs or whatever. I don't know.
We'll just
It'd be
leave it at that.
fantastic. Or just link doesn't matter. Perfect. Yeah, it was a really cool night. That was a very special night. I can't wait for another one.
Yep. So hopefully I'll get some of that stuff done this week. Like I said, I'm going to be house sitting all this next week.
Yeah.
So, gonna have plenty of time on my hands.
Good luck.
Outside of that, I love the cat balls for responses. Says Lori.
Yeah, they were really neat. I was not expecting it.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting after watching Charles's video, what he told me, and then myself going in there and trying to debunk it a little bit. It made it all that more interesting, even for me. And I'm, me. It's hard to impress me on anything, but that was a little interesting on how it all unfolded.
I mean, it didn't go off until you picked the stinking thing up. You kicked the table, you hit the pan, like that's what blew my mind, dude. The fact that I witnessed all this stuff without something doing that, and the ball was like light, it was just wow, blew my mind. And then watching the evidence of is it ghostly encounters? I want to say it's them, or paranormal encounters.
Paranormal encounters.
Thank you. The cat ball evidence they had, that was freaking sweet too.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that those, like, obviously there was
some of their Connor Biddle and India's experiences really kind of lined up with some of the things that we experienced.
I agree, very much so, and I'm really glad we had them on, like, literally, that following week, or 2-3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah,
it was really cool to see that, and that place is pretty awesome. Like, Stephanie's got her one awesome place for sure.
Absolutely. If you guys want to visit McIntyre Villa, hit Stephanie up on Facebook. She's pretty quick about responding sometimes. If you hit her up on the McIntyre Villa page, I know she'll respond pretty quickly. Yeah. Outside of that, guys, let's just jump into the show, shall we?
Yeah, let's get into it.
We got a lot of stuff here.
20 minutes later.
20, yeah, pretty much. Okay, so part of the puzzle of why we still remember Lizzie's... wait. Sorry, that's not what I wanted to read you. So the Lizzie Borden murder case abides as one of the most famous in American criminal history. New England's crime of the Gilded Age, it seems senselessness captivated the national press, and the horrible identity of the murderer was immortalized by the children's rhyme that was passed down across generations, which we played at the beginning of the show. So speculative doubt, I guess. Did Lizzie do it? Did she not do it? We went through a lot of the crime scene and some of the pre-trial information. And even before the trial, Lizzie, her story was inconsistent. Even on the same day that she was being questioned by different officers and detectives, her story was inconsistent. So at some point, she was arrested and put on trial. And Charles has gotten
like the entire freaking...
The entire
Lizzie trial. I'm gonna read some of it. I'm not gonna read the whole thing here. I'm gonna definitely save some for After Dark. But I would also, what I'm gonna read too, is I'm gonna get into some of the... I think what they are is the witnesses on the prosecution side and the defense side. So we'll be going through definitely more of the trial stuff. And on this, I went ahead and skipped a little bit forward because the first 10 questions they asked were just like basic about Lizzie and her place there, why she's there, about her father, just stuff like that. So we'll skip past to that a little bit. And we'll just start with this one. Question: have you any idea how your father, or how much money your father was worth? She said, no, sir. Have you ever heard him say? No, sir. Have you ever formed any opinion? No, sir. Do you know something about his real estate? About what? His real estate. I know, and the answer is, I know what real estate he owned, part of it. I don't know whether or not I know it all. Question: tell me what you know. She says, he owns 2 farms in Swansea, the place on 2nd Street in the A.J. Borden building and corner, and the land on the South Main Street where McManus is, and then a short time ago he bought some real estate up further south that formerly he said belonged to Mr. Birch. Did you ever deed him any property? She says, yes, gave us some years ago. Grandfather Borden's house on Ferry Street, and he bought that back from us some weeks ago. I don't know just how many. You said, as near as you can recall. Answer: well, I should say in June, but I am not sure. What do you mean by bought it back? She says he bought it off us and gave us the money for it. How much was it worth? How much money? He gave us $5,000 for it, for that property. Okay, so
Well, imagine $5,000 in that time. What that would be
worth
today.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
Then she goes on to say, did you pay him anything when you took a deed from him? And she said, pay him anything? No, sir. Question is, how long ago was it you took a deed from him? When he gave it to us? Yes. I can tell you, I should think 5 years. So it was 5 years that she had given him, that the transaction took place. Did you have any other business transactions with him besides that? She said, no, sir. Any real estate? No, sir. Personal property? No, sir. Never, never. No transfer of property? No, no, no. And I understand he paid you cash for this property. And she says, yes. You and Emma equally? She said, yes. So that was $2,500 for each, right? So if they paid $5,000, that's $2,500 each.
Where did she get the money?
Right? Exactly. Well, no, you and Emma equally. So it was Mr. Borden, Andrew Borden, paying them $2,500 each.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And says, how many children has your father? And she goes, only 2. And says, only 2? And she says, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Any others ever? And she said, one that died. Did you know that your father was making a will? And she said, no, sir, except I heard somebody say once that there was one several years ago. That is all I ever heard. The question goes on, did you hear say so? I don't know. Yeah, anyways. I think it was Mr. Morse. Oh, who did you? Sorry. Question, what Morse? Uncle John V. Morse. Question, how long ago? Answer, how long ago I heard him say it? I have not any idea.
Okay. Hang on.
Yeah.
So now we know she knew. Well, she's saying that her uncle had mentioned the will and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the theories that we had talked about last week on After Dark was the fact that maybe Lizzie and her uncle were actually the perpetrators of the murder, where either they hired somebody to do it or each one took out one of the members.
Yeah.
And we know from historical record that the uncle had a falling out with, or an argument with, Andrew Borden the night before.
Mm-hmm.
They were talking about real estate.
Yep. And,
So,
well, it makes me think too is maybe he bought the property back for Abby, his wife,
which
and they didn't.
that's
and
the
she didn't-
stepmom.
Yeah, exactly. That's the stepmom. So I'm sure Lizzie and Emma didn't like that, or at least
Probably.
Lizzie didn't like that.
And
So-
Morse was more or less, I can't remember their actual mom's name off the top of my head, but he was her brother. He was no blood relation to Andrew.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Right. So now the question goes on. It says, what did he say about that? Her uncle. What did he say about it? And she said nothing except just that. And the guy said, what? And she says that Mr. Borden had a will. Question, did you ask your father? Answer, I did not. Question, did he ever mention the subject of a will to you? Answer, he did not. Question, he never told you that he had made a will or had not? Answer, no, sir. Question, did he have a marriage settlement with your stepmother that you know of? Answer, I never knew of any. Question, had you heard anything of his proposing to make a will? No, sir. Do you know of anybody that your father was on bad terms with? She says, there was one man that came there that he had trouble with, and I don't know who the man was. Could be just making up some person.
Well, here's the thing now, also with Andrew, he did have enemies. And the list of suspects does include this person. And it is the list of suspects is pretty lengthy. And here in a while, we'll talk about some of those suspects.
So person asks, when was the man? She says, I cannot locate the time exactly. It was within 2 weeks, though. That is, I don't know the date or day of the month. Question, tell all that you saw and heard. So she goes on to say, I did not see anything. I heard the bell ring, and father went to the door and let him in. I did not hear anything for some time except the voice.
Okay, so she did not hear or see anything except she heard the bell ring, and then she assumed that it's a guy that he lets in.
Well, there's more.
Okay. Don't assume gender, Lizzie.
Yeah, right. I heard the bell ring, and father went to the door and let him in. I did not hear anything for some time, except just for voices. And then I heard the man say, I would like to have that place. I would like to have that store. Father said, I am not willing to let your business go in there. And the man said, I thought with your reputation for liking money, you would let your store for anything. Father said, you are mistaken. Then they talked a while, and then their voices were louder, and I heard father order him out, and went to the front door with him. Question, what did he say? She says, he said he had stayed long enough, and he would thank him to go. Question, did he say anything about coming again? Answer, no, sir. Did your father say anything about coming again, or did he? Answer, no, sir. Have you any idea who that was? Answer, no, sir. I think it was a man from out of town because he said he was going home to see his partner. Question, have you had any efforts made to find him? Answer, we have had a detective, that is all I know. Question, have you not found him? Answer, not that I know of. Question, you can't give us any other idea about it? Answer, nothing that I have told you. Besides that, do you know of anybody that your father had bad feelings towards, or who had bad feelings towards your father? Answer, I know of one man who has not been friendly with him. They have not been friendly for years. Who? Mr. Hiram C. Harrington. Question, what relation is he to him? Answer, he's my father's brother-in-law. Question, your mother's brother? Answer, my father's only sister married Mr. Harrington. Answer, anybody else that was on bad terms with your father or that your father was on bad terms with? Answer, not that I know of. Question, you have no reason to suppose that the man you spoke of a week or two ago had ever seen your father before or has since? Answer, no, sir. Do you know of anybody that was on bad terms with your stepmother? Answer, no, sir. Question, or that your stepmother was on bad terms with? No, sir. Had your stepmother had any property? Answer, I don't know, only that she had half the house that belonged to her father. Apparently half the house that she had belonged to her father, and it was on 4th Street. And
how do you know half a house?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess if you and your friend or sister or brother bought a place together, I guess that would technically be half the house.
Yeah.
Question, half ownership, I guess.
Yes, exactly. Question, who lives in it? Answer, her half sister. Question, any other properties besides that you know of? Answer, I don't know. Did you ever know of any? No, sir. Did you understand that she was worth anything more than that? I never knew.
She's like, no, she was worthless.
Yeah.
I killed her.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Kelly's right. It could be owned with siblings, and yeah, Cassie, half interest. That's true.
Yeah.
Very true. All right. Let's see here. Have you, within 6 months, had any words with her I'm guessing either. I'm guessing the half sister, the half sister of her stepmom.
Okay.
No, sir, within a year. No, sir, within 2 years. I think not. When was the last time you know of her, or you know of? About 5 years ago. What about her stepsister's half sister? Wait a second. Oh, did you have any trouble with your stepmother? No, sir. Have you, within 6 months, had any words with her? So, like, argument.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. No, sir, within a year. No, sir, within 2. No. So Lizzie says it was about 5 years ago that she had words with her stepmother. And they asked, was it, what about? It was her stepsister, a.k.a. half-sister. What name? Her name is now Mrs. George W. Whitehead. Nothing more than hard words? No, sir, they were not hard words. It was simply a difference of opinion. Question. You have been on pleasant terms with your stepmother since? Yes, sir. Question. Cordial. Answer. Depends on one's idea of cordiality, perhaps. So, that's where it kind of depends, you know,
Like,
gets into the, maybe. Question. According to your idea of cordiality? Answer. We are friendly, very friendly. Okay. Answer. Question. Cordial, according to your idea of... Oh, so quite so... cordial, according to... Yeah, quite so. What do you mean by quite so? Answer. Quite cordial. I do not mean the dearest of friends in the world, but very kindly feelings and pleasant. I do not know how to answer you any better than that. Question. You did not regard her as your stepmother? Answer. Not exactly, no, although she came there when I was very young. Question. Were your relations towards her that of a daughter and mother? Answer. In some ways it was, and in some ways it was not. In what ways was it? I decline to answer.
Why would you not answer that? That's a softball question.
Right? So they go on to say, why? Because I don't know how to answer it. Question. In what ways was it not? Answer. I did not call her mother. Question. What name did she go by? Mrs. Borden. Question. When did you begin to call her Mrs. Borden? I think 5 or 6 years ago.
At this time, how old is she? Like 19?
I don't know how old Lizzie is at this time. Hold on,
I mean,
let's see here.
I would.
It might have said it. Let me just... what is your age? 32.
Okay,
She's 32 years old in this questioning. So 5 to 6 years ago, that would have placed her at 26, 27.
Well, I was gonna say if she was like young at the time, then maybe the whole teenage.
Well, that's
thing,
absolutely. That's why
she's too old to be doing that teenage shit.
So, well, here's the thing: how long had your father been married to your stepmother? I think about 27 years.
Yeah, but she said
that could be
up until like 5 years ago is when she started calling her Mrs. Borden.
Oh yeah, which was like 25, 26, which or 26, 27. So
she shouldn't, like, if I can understand it being like if stepmom and her dad got together and maybe she was kind of pissed off as a teenager and just started calling her that because
didn't he sell the land to Abby and Emma like 5 years ago? Isn't that what you said?
I think so, yeah.
So what if Mrs. Borden, was not okay with him selling the land and then finally talked him into bringing it back, and that's what made her not like her that much?
I mean, that's a possibility.
What if the whole prospect of selling the land, selling the property to Emma and Lizzie is where Lizzie and her stepmom had harsh words.
Kind of went.
Yes.
Possible.
I think the relationship split at this. That makes sense. That makes sense with the timeline.
Yeah.
God damn it, Mike. That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. Let me get back into the spot here. Gotta find it. Oh, he scrolled away and now I've lost it.
I go for Mike.
Go for it.
Do you know French fries weren't made in France? They're made in Greece.
That just physically hurts. Right. Okay, so What name did she go by? Mrs. Borden. When did you call her Mrs. Borden? I think it would have been 5 or 6 years ago. Before that time, you called her mother? Yes, sir. Question. What led to the change? The affair with her stepsister. Dad jokes are how I roll. Yes.
Oh, my God.
Fudge muffins. This is great.
Dork.
So whatever happened between the steps, Abby. So
I think you're correct on that line of thinking of like when the land stuff was happening,
yes.
the relationship split basically right there. Or was fractured.
It just said something about it was the affair with the stepsister. So something happened with her stepsister, so Abby's daughter, that Lizzie and her butted heads on.
Maybe she gave some property to her stepsister, maybe, or put her on,
maybe,
ownership on a deed for that property.
Possibly.
And made her a part owner.
I don't know if it's like an affair of what we think, Kelly. I think it's just in general terms an event, a happening with her stepsister.
I think there's a good possibility that maybe, they probably took back some of that land to put her stepsister on that deed.
Yeah.
So, and that makes sense with the part ownership.
Yeah.
So
and maybe she
that's
wanted
why
she wanted in on some cash
and of course, there was always talks that some of them thought that Abby had married him, Andrew, for the money. But I mean, they've been a long time.
So this is an interesting thing right here. So after she says the affair with her stepsister, the question here goes, so that affair was serious enough to have you change from calling her mother, do you mean? Answer, I did not choose to call her mother. That's an interesting way to answer the question, even though you just said a little bit ago you used to call her mother before that.
But it wasn't her choice.
Oh, I wonder if her dad forced her.
Maybe. And it still hits me like a teenager would do. Like if they're pissed off at you, they call you, like pissed off at their parents, they'll call them by their name instead of calling them mom or dad. Or they'll go mother.
Okay, so there you go. So skip ahead a little bit. Question: your usual address was Mrs. Borden? Answer: yes, sir. Did your sister Emma call her mother? Answer: she always called her Abby from the time she came into the family. Question: is your sister older than you? Yes, sir. What is her age? She is 10 years older than I am. She was somewhere about 14 when she came here. So, dang, Lizzie was 40 years old? Good gracious.
40 years old.
So that means Emma would be 42 while the case is happening.
Yeah.
Or while this is happening. What was your stepmother's age? I don't know. I asked her sister Sunday, and she said 64. I told them 67. I did not know. I told, as nearly as I knew, I did not know there was so much difference between her and father. Question: why did you leave off calling her mother? Answer: because I wanted to. Question: is that all the reason you have to give me? Answer: I have not any other. Question: can't you give me a better reason than that? Answer: I have not any reason to give except that I did not want to. Question: in what respects were the relations between you and her that of a mother and daughter, besides not calling her mother? Answer: I don't know that any of the relations were changed. I had never been to her as a mother in many things. I always went to my sister because she was older and had taken care of me after my mother had died. Question: in what respects were the relations between you and her that of a mother and daughter? Answer: that is the same question you asked before. I can't answer you any better now than I did before. Question: you did not say before you could not answer, but that you declined the answer. Answer: I declined to answer because I did not know what to say. Jeez, a lot of wordplay in circle. This. Yeah, exactly. Is that the only reason? Yes, sir. Question: you called your father father? Always. Were your father and mother happily united? Answer: why, I don't know, but that they were. Question, why did you hesitate? Answer, because I don't know, but that they were, and I am telling the truth as nearly as I know it. You could just say yes or no. Seems like you're just making up words now.
Stalling a little bit.
Exactly.
So you can think.
Yeah. Do you mean to understand that they... do you mean me to understand that they were happily entirely or not? Answer, so far as I know, they were. Question, why did you hesitate then? Answer, because I did not know how to answer you any better than what came into mind. I was trying to think of what I was telling it as I should, that's all. So I can understand for her pausing then.
Yeah,
she
a
was
little
really
bit.
trying to like think
Either
back
that
over
or she's
things.
just trying to think of the best way to answer it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Question, do you have any difficulty in telling it as you should? Any difficulty in answering my questions? Answer, some of your questions I have difficulty answering because I don't know just how you mean them. Question, did you ever know of any difficulty between her and your father? She says no. Question, did he seem to be affectionate? An answer, I think so. Question, as a man and a woman who are married ought to be? Answer, so far as I have ever had any chance of judging. Question, they were? Yes. Question, what dress did you wear the day they were killed? I had on a navy blue sort of bengaline silk skirt with navy blue blouse in the afternoon. They thought I had better change. I put on a pink wrapper. Wasn't it a blue dress that she was trying to dispose of?
I think so.
That she said got paint on it?
Somebody had seen her burning a dress.
Trying to
burn a dress, yeah.
Because she claimed it had paint on it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Like, well, just toss it in the trash.
Yeah. Did you change your clothing before the afternoon? No, sir. You dressed in the morning as you have described and kept the clothing on until afternoon? Yes, sir. Question, when did Morse come there first? I don't mean the visit, I mean as a visitor, John V. Morse. Do you mean this day that he came and stayed all night? No. Was this visit the first to your house? Answer, he had been in the East a year or more. Question, he should have, if he knew that fact about the paint thing, he should have rolled with that. But he might have not known.
Yeah.
Which, is very
It
viable.
may have come later in somebody else's testimony.
Yeah.
Which then he should
before
be able
noon.
to recall the witness.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's see. Came in, wanted... Question, before that, had he been to your house before he came east? Answer, yes, he had been there. If you remember the winter that the river was frozen over and they went across, he was here that winter some 14 years ago, was it not? Question, I'm not answering questions, but asking them. He's getting snippy with her. I don't remember the date he was there that winter. Question, has he been there since? Answer, he's been there once since. I don't know whether he has or not since that one time.
Okay.
So, none at all to speak of, nothing more than the night or two at a time. Question, how often do you come to spend a night or two? Answer, really I don't know. I am away so much myself. What? She's away from her house a lot already? Is that what I'm hearing from that?
Say that again?
So they asked, how often did he come to spend a night or two at her dad's place, Andrew Borden's?
Yeah.
And she says, really, I don't know. I am away so much myself.
Okay.
So that sounds like she doesn't spend much time at the house. But
Yeah,
I thought she had
okay.
duties at the house.
Yeah, I mean, if you are barely there, why would you have duties of cleaning up after guests and
Right.
shit like that?
Exactly. That seems a little odd. Okay, question. Your last answer is that you don't know how much he had been there because you had been away yourself so much. Yes. Question. That is true the last year or so since he has been east? Answer. I have not been away the last year so much, but often other times I have been away when he has been there. Question. Do I understand you to say that his last visit before this one was 14 years ago? Answer. No. He has been here once between the two. Question. How long did he stay then? See, it seems like he's not, like, he's following up with, like, I don't know if she's a suspect at this point.
Yeah, I think she was arrested and held in jail for like 9 months.
Yeah, she was indicted. Like, she was indicted. Don't get me wrong, but it just seems like he's questioning more on the people surrounding the Bordens, not so much Lizzie.
Well,
but that could be later in the questioning too.
And it could also be tied to what she reported or the story she gave the police during the investigation.
True.
And before the trial, you know, while she was in jail or whatever, they would have questioned her again.
Yeah.
Okay. I think at this point, I know you got a lot to read.
There is a lot. Jeez.
I want to read a little bit here, and then we can kind of wrap it up here.
There's so much that it's impossible to cover, even in 2 shows.
Yeah.
Like, I think I only got to a quarter.
Yeah. So
I could give you. I'm gonna give you guys the link so you can go like look up all this information yourselves too if you want to.
Or you can just join us on Patreon.
Go to Patreon. Well, even then, after it's not going to be enough time.
Okay, so it wasn't an accident then that the police initially considered the murders a male crime, probably committed by a foreigner. Within a few hours of the murders, police arrested their first suspect, an innocent Portuguese immigrant. Likewise, Lizzie had absorbed elements of the city's rampant nativism. On the day of the murders, Lizzie claimed that she came into the house from the barn and discovered her father's body. She yelled for the Borden's 26-year-old Irish servant, Bridget Maggie Sullivan, who was resting in her third-floor room. She told Maggie that she needed a doctor and sent the servant across the street to the family physician house. He was not at home. Lizzie then told Maggie to get a friend down the street. Yet Lizzie never sent the servant to the Irish immigrant doctor who lived right next door. He had an impressive educational background and served as Fall River's city physician, nor did Lizzie seek help from the French-Canadian doctor who lived diagonally behind the Bordens. Only a Yankee doctor would do. These same divisions played into keeping Lizzie off the suspect list at first. She was, after all, a Sunday school teacher at her wealthy Central Congregational Church. People of her class could not accept that a person like Lizzie would slaughter her parents. But during the interrogation, Lizzie's answers to different police officers shifted, and her inability to summon a single tear aroused police suspicion. You mean you couldn't cry?
Was this during Sullivan's trial questioning?
No.
Was that Lizzie's?
This was during the interrogation of Lizzie.
Okay.
She could not summon a single tear.
So like Amber Heard, got it.
Then an officer discovered that Lizzie had tried to purchase the deadly prussic acid a day before the murders in a nearby drugstore. Another piece of the story is how, as Fall River's immigrant population surged, more Irishmen turned to policing. On the day of the murders, Irish police were among the dozen or so who took control of the Borden house and property. Some interviewed Lizzie. One even interrogated her in her bedroom. Lizzie was not used to being held to account by people she considered beneath her. So this is where class rankings come in, and also the nativism, where she was native to the country. She was a Yankee. And then you have all these Irish immigrants coming to town, these Portuguese and things like that. And at this point, the Irish were kind of building the majority population. So the Lizzie Borden case quickly became a flashpoint in an Irish insurgency into the city. The shifting composition of the police force, combined with the election of the city's second Irish mayor, Dr. John Coughlin, were all pieces of a challenge to native-born control. Coughlin's newspaper, Fall River Globe, was a militant working-class Irish daily that assailed mill owners. Soon after the murders, it focused its class combativeness on Lizzie's guilt. Among other things, it promoted rumors that Bordens on the Hill were pooling millions to ensure that Lizzie would never be convicted. So, again, the Hill was like the area of town where all the rich people lived, but the Bordens decided not to go up there, to live up there. They lived modest. By contrast, the Hill's House organ, the Fall River Evening News, defended Lizzie's innocence. So you have, again, battle of the classes, where the Irish newspaper, the Fall River Globe, was insisting her guilt, whereas, the Fall River Evening News, that was from the rich area, defended Lizzie. 5 days after the murder, authorities convened an inquest, and Lizzie took the stand each day. The inquest was the only time she testified in court under oath. So what you're reading is her inquisition, I believe. The only time she's actually been under oath in court testifying. Even more than the heap of inconsistencies that police compiled, Lizzie's testimony led her into a briar patch of seeming self-incrimination. Lizzie did not have a defense lawyer during what was a closed inquiry, but she was not without defenders. The family doctor, who staunchly believed in Lizzie's innocence, testified that after the murders, he prescribed a double dose of morphine to help her sleep. Its side effects, he claimed, could account for Lizzie's confusion. Her 41-year-old spinster sister, Emma, who also lived at home, claimed that the sisters harbored no anger towards their stepmother. Yet the police investigation and the family and neighbors who gave interviews to newspapers suggested otherwise. With her sister Emma 15 miles away on vacation, Lizzie and Bridget Sullivan were the only ones left at home with Abby and Andrew after Andrew left in the morning for his rounds. Bridget was outside washing windows when Abby was slaughtered in the second-floor guest room, while Andrew Borden was bludgeoned in the first-floor sitting room shortly after his return. The servant was upstairs resting in her attic room. Unable to account consistently for Lizzie's movements, the judge, district attorney, and police marshal determined that Lizzie was probably guilty. And then
Probably.
that's what they said. It was probably guilty. Lizzie was arrested on August 11th, my birthday, 1 week after the murders. The judge then sent Lizzie to the county jail. This privileged suspect found herself confined to a 9.5 by 7.5 foot cell for the next 9 months.
Jeez.
Lizzie's arrest provoked an uproar that quickly became national. Women's groups rallied to Lizzie's side, especially the Women's Christian Temperance Union and suffragists. Lizzie's supporters protested that at trial she would not be judged by a jury of her peers because women, as non-voters, did not have the right to serve on juries.
Okay.
So I'm gonna stop that right there. There's more to this that this all explains possibly why she was not found guilty, but there's more to this, and I'll read that on the After Dark.
It's interesting. Very interesting. Because, I was thinking too is maybe those people were racist and didn't like the Irishmen that were turning into police that would do the prosecution.
And I think it was more of a classism kind of thing, The Irish immigrants that were coming over were typically poor. Until they, some of them rose to prominence within their communities.
Yeah.
Like the mayor, the second Irish mayor. So throughout this process, leading up to this, the Irish community was building volume and numbers within the city. So, like I said, a dozen of the police force that were there were Irishmen. And what's funny is like they were talking about the inconsistencies in her testimony, but like as you're reading it, there's some things in there that, well, it also said that she kind of ascertained some information or behaved certain way that would suggest her guilt, and the way she would answer this lawyer started making me think that, like, you know, her trying to think of the best way to answer this to not incriminate herself, or you know, to have inconsistencies in her story, or to decline answering a question.
Yeah.
That's not a good look. And I'm sure, as you're going to read on the Patreon, that there's going to be some more volatile type of responses that she's going to be giving in the trial.
Yep. Yeah, most likely. It's going to be pretty intense. And things we'll be able to pick up on.
Now, if you guys don't want to join us on the Patreon page, what do you think at this point? Do you think she's guilty? Do you think that there's another suspect? In fact, we got a few minutes. I could read off a couple. And honestly, there's one particular interesting thing from some witnesses that describe a man that was in town at the time. Several witnesses described a similar man being in town at the time of the murders. So it wasn't like there wasn't any suspects. I mean, there's a big list. If I could share this page, I could show you. I'm going to just kind of share this page so you guys see this, because I read some of these on After Dark last week, and I'm going to read some more on After Dark as well. But this list of suspects is pretty extensive. Let me share this. I mean, you've got all these names. There's a Dr. Handy. That's funny.
Jeez, nice.
These are a bunch of accounts of the man that people had seen around town. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 accounts of a man, unknown man, being in town.
Cassie
and a lot of
she's guilty and didn't act alone.
A lot of these suspects, you know, Alan Morse, of course, is a suspect in this.
Yeah.
But a lot of these suspects, like, I mean, the list just continues. A lot of these suspects were written about in different books. A lot of people that did research on this got all the accounts and everything and compiled this list. So
that's pretty awesome. I think she's guilty, and I definitely don't think she acted alone.
I do not think she acted alone either.
With how
and
much...
we've talked about the blunt force trauma thing.
Yes.
Like, not to be sexist, I guess, but how much force would blunt force trauma have to? How much force would the trauma have to knock somebody out, like Andrew Borden, or even Abby Borden, to knock them out? You
exactly.
know.
Well, if they were older too, though, I don't think it would take much.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true too.
Because she was what? Like, what did she say? Like 64,
64.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be surprised. I mean, all right.
Now I'll say it on here. We got 1 minute left. I'll say it right here. I think that's the case. Is Lizzie did not act alone. I think she is probably the one that helped mastermind this thing. But
I'm gonna also read the autopsy report on After Dark.
Oh, hell yeah! And we still have the pictures, so you guys want to see some gruesome pictures.
Which is great because it's the same pictures that, like, the pictures they have on this website, the same pictures that you use.
Good. All right. Again, guys, if you want to join us on After Dark, it only costs $2.49 a month. So you get extra show. It helps us out. It's going to help us out in the future as we do plan to take this show onto Spotify and all these other different venues.
Yes.
It'll help us grow, and that's what we would like to do. And it also will help us bring you some bitchin' content.
Yep.
Anything you want to add there, Charles, before we drop off here?
I'm solid. Thank you guys for being here this week, and we can't wait to see you next week.
Absolutely. Again, the poll is up on Patreon. What we're going to be doing next week, what style of show. So if you're on Patreon already, jump over there, jump into the posts, and go vote. And for those of you that are not going to be following us over there, we appreciate your time, and we will see you next week with a unknown show.
Absolutely. Bye, guys. Have a wonderful night.